The house reeked of rotting takeout containers and stale beer. Again, I stood in the doorway of our shared apartment, my backpack still weighing heavy on my shoulders from a long day of classes, watching my 5 roommates sprawl across couches that cost more than my car. They were scrolling through their phones with blank expressions while a sea of trash covered nearly every surface around them. I was a scholarship kid, the only one whose parents worked actual jobs instead of owning companies, the only one who checked his bank account before buying lunch, the only one who understood what a budget meant. And somehow, inexplicably, I'd become the unofficial maid. Every few weeks, I'd spend an entire Saturday scrubbing, organizing, hauling bags of garbage down 3 flights of stairs while my roommates were out at brunch or sleeping off hangovers. The kitchen alone took hours of backbreaking work. Pizza boxes stacked like a grease-stained tower of Pisa, dishes growing entire ecosystems in the sink, the smell making my eyes water. Energy drink cans forming miniature pyramids on every counter, sticky residue coating the surfaces beneath them. Within 48 hours, it always looked exactly the same, like I'd never touched it, like those hours of my life had simply evaporated into nothing. "Hey Marcus, you gonna clean up your mess?" Tyler would joke, gesturing at the disaster zone he and his friends had created the night before during another impromptu party I wasn't invited to. They all laughed, every single time. I didn't. I never thought it would get worse than the casual disrespect. I was wrong. Then one Tuesday afternoon, someone knocked on our door. Hard, angry knocking that echoed through the apartment and made my heart race. I opened it to find Mrs. Pemberton, Tyler's mother, dressed in a suit that probably cost more than my entire semester's rent. Her perfectly styled hair didn't move in the breeze. Her face was twisted in disgust as she peered past me into our living room. "Are you Marcus?" she demanded, her voice sharp and cold. Yes, ma'am, I don't know how you were raised, but in civilized society, we don't live like animals." She gestured past me at the apartment with a manicured hand. "My son tells me you're responsible for this disaster, that you refuse to clean up after yourself, and it's affecting everyone else's living situation. Their mental health, even." My stomach dropped like an elevator with cut cables. "I'm sorry, what? Don't play dumb with me. Tyler said you make all these messes and expect everyone else to deal with it. That they've tried talking to you, but you just ignore them. I'm considering calling your university about this. I'm sure they'd be interested to know how their scholarship students behave." Behind me, I heard Tyler's door click shut, quietly, deliberately. "Mrs. Pemberton, I'm actually the only one who ever cleans. Save it. I've heard enough excuses from entitled young people to last a lifetime." She turned on her designer heels and left, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. I stood there, frozen in the doorway, as the truth crashed over me like ice water. They'd all been telling their parents the same story, the same lie. The poor kid was the problem. The poor kid was dragging down their precious sons with his lack of standards, his inability to maintain basic cleanliness. They created a narrative where I was the villain, and they were the victims suffering under my negligence. The betrayal burned in my chest. All those Saturdays I'd sacrificed. All those times I bit my tongue when they made jokes at my expense. All the times I tried to be a good roommate, a good friend, even despite the obvious class divide between us. I stopped cleaning after that, completely. Let them drown in their own garbage. Let them see what it was really like when nobody took responsibility. I watched the apartment deteriorate into something that would make a landfill look organized. I moved out 2 months later, finding a tiny studio I could barely afford but could finally call my own. Sometimes I wonder if they ever figured out who was actually making those messes, who was actually responsible for the chaos they blamed on me. Probably not. It's easier to blame the person who doesn't belong. The person who doesn't have parents who can afford lawyers or make donations to the university. The person whose name doesn't open doors. If this story hit close to home, drop a comment below. And if you want to hear more real stories about the wild things people experience, make sure you're subscribed. Trust me, it gets even crazier from here.